Hey everybody, I'm Amy from BodyFit by Amy, and this is your post-pregnancy deep core and pelvic floor connection workout. So this is a short video for anybody who's been through a pregnancy, as long as you've been cleared by your doctor for exercise. And in this workout, we are only talking about you and your body. No mention of babies or mom life or anything like that. Just you, you're healing, you're connecting, and you're strengthening. So in this, we're gonna be going through some breathing and connection exercises. These are things that you could do throughout your day. Certainly finding time to do this is really helpful to reconnect, especially if your core has been through something physical or a surgery or a trauma, something that makes it harder to connect with those deep core and pelvic floor muscles. So this is a workout. These are connections in themselves, but I highly encourage you to visit some of my other post-pregnancy workouts in the series to really utilize this as you go into strengthening, more core work, and cardio, things that you're doing to heal and strengthen, taking this as you go. So let's start just by checking in with our alignment. So this is something that a lot of us have shoulders either come forward or back, anterior pelvic or posterior pelvic tilt, or just from life, computers, driving, things like that, we get pulled forward or back. So stand feet shoulder width apart, hip distance apart, lifting up through the top of your head, but not creating more tension, trying to relax here. And then thinking of stacking your ears over your shoulders, shoulders over the rib cage over the hips, and then hips over the knees, over the ankles. And thinking especially about your hips, your pelvis, and your rib cage. This is often where we see that. And I want you to think of your pelvis like a bowl of water. We're trying not to spill the water this way, not to spill the water this way, but to keep that water steady. So it shouldn't be like you're having to grip your glutes. Actually, I want you to try to relax in the glutes, but you do want to align, especially here, and then be aware of chest open and here. So now that we've got that, let's do some diaphragmatic breathing. I often call this TA breathing because we're getting transverse abdominis, our deep core muscles that wrap around like a corset. But I think more often now it's more called diaphragmatic breathing, so I'm gonna call it both, right? So hands on either side, and the idea with this is that we're not gonna breathe up and down, inhale, exhale, or inhale, exhale, but as we inhale, we're gonna expand and relax. As we exhale, in and contract. So both should be releasing tension, but we should be connecting on that exhale. I know it feels very different. Usually we think inhale, exhale to relax. But in this connection exercise, I want you to inhale to expand through your back, through your sides, through your belly. So 360 degrees around in your core. Let that pelvic floor drop. Exhale to connect. So as we connect, we're bringing everything in. We're doing a gentle lift of the pelvic floor. Inhale, through the sides, through the back, through the belly, let the pelvic floor drop. Exhale to connect. One of my trainer friends calls this breathing through your gills. I find that really helpful to think like a fish, breathing through, not just through your tummy, right? And you can check yourself in the mirror when you do this at home, make sure those shoulders are not moving. So inhale, relax, exhale, everything is in and up. And what I like to think about, and I cue this in my other workouts, is imagine there are magnets on your hip bones drawing them together, right? What happens when you visualize that? Not going here, right? But just drawing them together. Imagine that you're zipping up your core, you're zipping up a pair of pants, not holding your breath. Imagine that you're buttoning up the top of the rib cage, right? Little button. What happens when you do that? You feel that deep core turn on. Not that you have to be thinking about that through every single movement or every single thing you do in a workout or in life, but that's a great way to connect. Now let's talk about our pelvic floor. You've probably heard about Kegels, and for years, many of us, including myself as an early trainer, we described a Kegel or a pelvic floor contraction as squeezing like you're trying to stop peeing, right? Stop the flow of urine. We've realized that that cue makes people really grip their glutes or really squeeze. What we want to think about instead is a gentle but strong lift, or a strong but gentle lift. So I like to use the visual of a fishing net, or you're lifting a blueberry right? With your vagina, with your pelvic floor muscles. You don't want to squeeze and squish the blueberry, but you want to be strong enough to lift it, or sucking through a straw. So whatever visual works for you. Don't worry so much about the core, even though it's going to be working with it. Let's think of those pelvic floor activations. So inhale, relax the pelvic floor, which can be really hard. A lot of us hold tension. Try to relax. And then as you exhale, can you lift that pelvic floor? Again, fishing net, blueberry, sucking through a straw, whatever it is. Feel how that deep core turns on. Try that again, release. Exhale. I know these things seem really simple, but when you really visualize and you really get the right things connecting, which can be really hard to do, you feel the difference, right? And doing this very slow, sometimes can feel a little boring, this kind of work, it's only gonna help you have better results, get stronger, have a better recovery in your other work, your other workouts. Inhale and exhale. Lift. Now let's do what we call a pelvic floor elevator, or pelvic floor activation elevator. So we're thinking of that contraction, but instead of lifting and releasing, we're gonna lift up like we're going up an elevator, up the floor. Don't overthink it, but as we lift, you can visualize an elevator as if you're lifting that pelvic floor, contracting, 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 without squeezing right here or here. So big inhale, pelvic floor relaxes. Exhale, we're gonna lift to floor 1. Now to floor 2, and you don't have to breathe in and out every time. Lift to floor 3, 4, keep lifting. 5, see how you feel that deep core connecting. 6, 7, 8, do you feel that? If you're really visualizing, you can really lift. You can relax and let that go. We don't have to go down slow. Let's do that one more time. So again, your core is helping. We don't have to be thinking about all of the parts. Right now, we're focused on the pelvic floor. We want to get to a point where we put them all together. So one more time, pelvic floor elevator. Inhale, relax. Exhale, lift. Up to floor 1, up to floor 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can you hold it at the top? Again, you're not squeezing, but you're holding the contraction. We want to get to a point where we can hold that contraction, or we can have a strong, stable foundation when we start doing all those other things that we do in our workouts. Relax, right? So these connection exercises, they are exercises in themselves. You don't have to be thinking throughout every movement that you make, big diaphragmatic breath, pelvic floor activation, now I do a bicep curl. Breath, and here. We want to get to a point where we can go into active core breathing, have a strong, stable foundation as we do all the other things that we do in our workout and in life. So one more time, diaphragmatic breathing and pelvic floor activation. And then I want to encourage you to do this on your own, from a standing position, from a seated position, down on your back, maybe before you go to bed at night, in all fours, all the different positions that we're in, connecting with your core in that way. So again, when you go into your workout and in life, you'll be stronger and more connected. One more time from here. Inhale. Exhale. Everything in. Pelvic floor lifts. Inhale, release. One more time. Everything releases. Pelvic floor activation and diaphragmatic breath, core connection. In and lift. Practice that when you can. Relax. Maybe a few before you get in the shower, or anytime you're in front of a mirror, before you go to bed at night, before you get up. All of those things are just going to help you deeper connect to that deep core, that pelvic floor, as you recover, as you heal, and as you reconnect and strengthen. Let's get one big deep breath in and out. You did it. That was your deep core and pelvic floor connection workout. Great job, everybody.